Our framework has been that, look, they can take up all the measures related to stock market, property market, but ultimately to get a sustained turnaround in investor confidence, what we would need is to fix deflation. And to fix deflation, what we need is a 10 trillion RMB fiscal stimulus, which would be partly focused on boosting consumption and partly focused on taking away inventory from the property market. But 2/3 of it we think should be going towards boosting consumption. And that will be, in our view, most important measure that would be needed to get the economy out of deflation.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you put on what they need to do for the eye-watering local government debt? Because, I mean, a call for 10 trillion yuan seems to be in line with a former central bank advisor over in China who was also saying a similar thing in recent months. But I mean, as far as that number is concerned as well, if I can add to the question, is there a magic bullet? Because it seems that there are some diverging views on how much we're likely to get, depending on what they would like to signal to the market as well, Chetan. Because, maybe they might go with a more conservative number to perhaps signal to the markets that there isn't such a huge problem. Because, if it is on the sort of higher end, that could maybe give the message or a sense that there are some very serious underlying problems here. That's a fair point.
Yeah, I think it's possible that they may do it piecemeal. I think that's probably more likely. Either they will take up some measures on this Saturday, but I think it will be important to give some kind of very positive forward guidance. And as I was mentioning, there are basically two things at debate here. One is the scale of stimulus for boosting demand, and the second is the nature. So I think the nature is also very important. If you get a smaller scale stimulus, which is more focused on debt restructuring rather than boosting demand, I think eventually markets will still want more and give the feedback to the policymakers that this is not really going to help to solve the deflation problem.
And you were talking about 2/3 of that 10 trillion RMB program, stimulus program, to be consumer-driven, consumer-centered, consumer-focused rather. So that works out to be close to about 6.5, 7 trillion going in directly for
That's right.
consumer stimulus. What would that look like?
So what we are saying is that there can be two components to it. There can be a small amount allocated to a consumer trade-in program, as what they call it, which is effectively cash for clunkers. And then the large part of it should be towards social welfare spending. We think that the household saving rate in China is too high. In fact, it's been rising in the last 3 years. And so to give the consumers that confidence that there is social security protection, if they can increase social welfare spending on healthcare, education, and public housing, and parallelly relax the hukou licensing requirement for 250 million migrant workers, that can really support the overall consumption growth. And one other important point, Tanveer, that we are highlighting is that if they manage to lift consumption enough to be able to achieve a reasonable growth like 4.5%, which is their target, they would then have to cut back. They will then be able to cut back on investment growth, because that is an important objective also that we are watching. They have to stop creating new excess capacity. So that's how we are looking at things.